Welcome to Intermediate Algebra. This is our very first lesson of the school year. This is lesson 1.1. And I have a goal for chapter 1. Each section will have a goal at the top of the board and with the idea of this is the main concept that I want you to get during this teaching time. And so if you have a piece of paper, you can take some notes or you can listen carefully and remember each of these. As you go through the video, there'll be a time where you have to stop and answer a certain question. And you will get credit for that as a participation. And then you'll have, after the video lesson, you'll have a short worksheet to do that will kind of help you with this skill and give you more practice on these exact skills. So our first lesson, 1.1, the goal is I will be able to write. So we're going to be writing verbal and algebraic expressions. So I'm going to teach you what to do with a verbal expression and then how to write algebraic expressions. Well, to start with, let's begin by dealing with these verbal phrases. We have 4 operations in math. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And so we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I'm going to make a little chart. We're going to do some English expressions that we would read, maybe in a book or a newspaper, that would give us a certain operation to perform. So I'm thinking of the word plus, a plus sign. If you see the word plus, it's going to mean to add. We could even say add, adding 2 numbers. The word plus. You could say another word would be increased by. I could say 10 is increased by 2. It would be 10 plus 2. I could do the word sum, the sum of 2 numbers. If I were to say the sum of 2 numbers, 5 and 3 is 8. So the word sum means to add together. I could also use the English phrase more than. 5 more than 10 is 15. And so all of these expressions I would use a plus sign if I were to write an algebraic expression. So this is the English verbal form, then plus would be the algebraic way to write it, a plus sign. Well, what would I use for the word minus? I could use the word less than. 5 less than 10 is 5. I could use the word subtraction or subtracted from. A number subtracted from another would be this sign right here. I could use the word minus. I could use the word take away. I could use the word decreased by. If I decrease something, decreased by, I would be using a subtraction sign. This next one, the third operation, is the multiplication sign. So obviously I could use the word multiply. Multiply 2 numbers, and we would use the times sign. I could also use the word times. I could use the word product. If you read the word product, the product of 2 numbers, then you're going to multiply those 2 numbers together. You would not add and you would not subtract. The word of. Just the word of in story problems would mean that I'm multiplying 2 numbers together. So if I multiply times, product, or the word of. And then what would I use for the word division? I could use simply the word divide. Divide 2 numbers, I would be dividing them, of course. I could use the quotient of. So the word quotient would mean to divide 2 numbers. So hopefully you're familiar with each of these terms in the English, and you can relate them to a certain operation. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Now, let's write out some expressions. Let's do something like this. Here's my first example, 5x. Now x is a variable. X is a variable, which means it can stand for any number I want it to stand for. It could be a positive number, it could be a negative number, it could be a fraction. So x is a variable, it represents a number that I don't know. 5 is a number I do know. If there's no operation between the 5 and the letter, then I'm going to use a times sign because this means to multiply. There's no x for multiplication, it's simply not there, or sometimes we put a little dot, and the little dot means to multiply. So 5x, I would write in English as 5 times x. So you have to write the word in English times. 5 times x. Number 2, if I were to do this, 5x plus 2, how would I write that in English? Well, the word plus there, I could use add. I could do 2 added to 5x. I could use the word plus. There's many ways I could do it. I could do 5x increased by 2. So there's many options. You don't have to just have one way. You could use any of those on the list. I could do 5x plus 2. That would be easy enough. So there's many ways to write this in English, and I'll let you choose what you like to do best. 5 times x. So you have to write that down, 5 times x, like our first example. And then I'm going to do plus 2, where plus represents the plus sign. I'm going to use the English word plus. 5 times x plus 2. So I'm basically taking an algebraic expression and I'm writing it in English. Let's try another one. Number 3. I'm going to do one with exponents, so they get an idea how to do an exponent. Let's do 10y. Okay, so now in between the 10 and the y, it's times. There's no add or subtract sign, there's no division sign, so this is a multiplication product. It's a multiplication. So it's going to be 10 times, and then here, when I have an exponent, it is going to be y to the 5th power. The y is the base. Remember that the exponent is up above to the right of the base. So that's the base, there's the exponent, 5. So you would write it to the 5th power. So exponents, we refer to powers. The 2nd power, 3rd power, 4th power. You could use squared for 2nd power. Or for the 3rd power, we would use the word cubed. But you can, for this class, you can do it as the 3rd power or as the 2nd power. So I would write this in English as 10 times, I could use the word product. The product of 10 and, let me do that, because I could do 10 times, this is no problem. But let me do this. The product of 10 and, now how would I write this? Y to the 5th power. And y to the 5th power. That's one way to write it. I could also write it my original way. 10 times y to the 5th power. So either way is acceptable. Again, there's many ways to write it in English possibly. All right, let's try a 4th example. The subtraction ones are the hardest. So let's do a subtraction one. Let's do this. Let's do 3r minus 1. Okay, I could write this as 3 times r. And then for the minus sign, I could say the word minus 1. And I'm writing all of it out in English. Write the 3 in English, write the 1 in English. 3 times r minus 1. Another way that I could do this is using the word less than. Here's the hard one. Here's what I want you to remember, less than. If I were to say, what is 1 less than 10? Think about it right now. What is 1 less than 10? 1 less than 10 is the number 9. Everybody agree? 1 less than 10 is 9. How would I write that? I would write it as 10 minus 1. This is 1 less than 10. So, when I'm saying it, I say this number first. 1 less than 10 is 9. So when you have a subtraction that says the word less than, then the 1 has to come first. 1 less than 3 times r. Notice, if I use the word minus, or if I use the word decreased by, I keep it in the same order. 3 r's first, 1 is second. 3 times r is first, 1 is second. So if I use those English words, keep that order. If you use the phrase less than, you have to start with the 1. 1 less than 3r. So just remember the phrase less than in subtraction is a little bit different. And then we'll do one quotient, number 5. Let's do so now I have two things on top, 4 plus t, two terms on top, one term on bottom. How would I write this in English? This is a quotient. A division problem is the quotient. So I would write 4 plus t in English. 4 plus t. That's the numerator. That's the top of my fraction. Then I would say divided by 8. 4 plus t divided by 8. There is another way I could write it. I could say I could start with the words the quotient. The quotient of, and then I would start with the numerator on top, and then I would continue with the denominator. The quotient of 4 plus t, that's 1 unit, and the denominator is 8. So the quotient means to divide. The quotient of 4 plus t, that's the top, and 8, which is the bottom. All right, so that's how we take an algebraic expression and make it verbal. Now we'll go the other way around. Now we'll start with the verbal. Let's do, this is going to be example A. The sum of a number and 2. How would I write that as an algebraic expression? The sum of a number and 2. Well, the word sum means to add. It's a plus sign. A number, since I don't tell you what number, you can pick your variable. Pick any letter of the alphabet. You might want to pick A, B, it doesn't matter. We often pick X or Y, so I'm going to use the letter Y. The sum of a number Y and 2, I would write it as Y plus 2. Now, addition is commutative, meaning that I can change the order. I could go 2 plus y and I get the same answer. You cannot do that with subtraction or division. The order matters in subtraction and division. The order does not matter in multiplication or addition. Let's try another one. The product of 3 and x. The product of 3 and x. Product means to multiply. So if I'm multiplying, most often I don't have to use x or a sign. I can just simply put the things together if it's a number and a letter. So here's your number, here's your variable. The product is 3 times x. Here's how I would write 3 times x. 3x with no operation symbol in between there. And then we'll do them with subtraction. The difference of 18 and 2 times a number. The difference of 18 and 2 times a number. Well, the word difference means to subtract. So I'm going to use a subtraction sign. So here I'm going to write down a subtraction sign. The difference of 18 and 2 times the number. I can keep the same order because I'm not using the phrase less than. So 18 goes first. And 2 times the number, I'm going to pick x for the number. I don't know what number it is, so I'm going to use a variable. 2 times x is 2x. So the difference of 18 and 2 times the number would be 18, subtraction sign, 2x. Okay, so that is an example of how to write verbal and algebraic expressions. You have 16 questions on your first worksheet, 1.1. And so find this in your module for the week, and then you can complete it, maybe on a piece of paper, or you can print this off and complete it on this, or simply write the answers on a piece of paper, and then scan it, take a picture of it, or however you'd like to do that, and upload it to Canvas. Thank you.